Alrighty, thanks for tuning in once again. It's Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com here today with In the Clinch, our boxing hangout. Here with me today, we got local boxing fan slash expert Mike Dixon. Mike, thanks for being on with us today.
What's up, man? What's going on? Happy to be here.
Good, good. You know, we missed a couple of weeks, man. I went out of town and we had a holiday. So we missed a couple of real good fights. But this week I want to start off talking about this most recent fight last weekend with Sergio Martinez Medavilla against Miguel Cotto, Argentinian versus Puerto Rican for the middleweight title. We didn't get a chance to do a preview on the fight, but I think the fight turned out differently than either of us would have expected. Just the ease in which Miguel Cotto handled Sergio Martinez, it was crazy. What did you think about the fight going into it? We didn't really talk about picks, but did you think Cotto would win, or did you think Martinez would be able to retain his championship? And then what did you think about how the fight played out?
Yeah, I was totally shocked. You know, I didn't see it coming at all. Just being honest, I thought that, for one, I just thought that Miguel Cotto had no business in the middleweight class, first off, and then, you know, with a guy with Martinez's size, with style. So I thought the size was an issue, but also thought the style was going to be an issue. Neither one did that prove to be the case. I thought that Martinez would be able to use movement, use his reach advantage, and his kind of, you know, in and out style, and basically put on another clinic like he did kind of against Julio Cesar Chavez, except he would be able to, you know, relax without having to worry about the power factor as much as he would have against Chavez Jr. But it proved not to be the case. You know, his power was felt, and he wasn't able to move efficiently. I think that might have had something to do with his knees, but it hasn't come out just yet what happened with his knees. But I think it was real apparent during the fight that you could see that he didn't have two good wheels on him, and he wasn't able to plant and move like he wanted to. But to Miguel Cotto's credit, that's not his problem. He went in there and did what he had to do, and it looked like one of the knockdowns might have actually got those knee problems going. But nevertheless, I think a landmark win for Miguel Cotto.
Yeah, and, you know, I agree with your pre-fight assessment going into it, and I guess we did talk about it a little bit. You know, I thought that Miguel Cotto was going to have problems at 162. Looking at his history, whenever he's moved up in weight class, he's always had an adjustment. You know, when he went from 140 to 147, when he went from 147 to 154, it always took him a little while to adjust to that size and strength in that weight class. So I thought same thing. 160, he really doesn't have any business there. I did say his chance at winning was Sergio Martinez looking old and looking like a shot fighter, which exactly is what exactly happened. Now this, I wouldn't call it, you know, like a fighter getting old overnight. You know, we've talked about that with Hopkins' last fight. I think there was another fight where we had that conversation. Because we've seen Martinez kind of gradually diminish. You talked about the Chavez Jr. fight. That was a fight, you know, he won most of the way, but he got dropped late, was in serious trouble, and we've seen him since then. I mean, he's been able to be dropped. He's been able to look more vulnerable, it seems, each time out. So I wouldn't say that this was a complete surprise. I knew that there was a way Cotto could come out and win like that, but to say that I picked it or that's what I expected, you know, I would be lying. Now let's talk about, you talked about the when he got knocked down, maybe hurting his knee. Martinez said that, you know, it wasn't a factor of him being too old or being shot. He said Cotto just caught him early and he never really recovered. Do you buy that, or do you think that he was a done deal before the fight even started?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tricky to say. I watched it at a local bar, so I couldn't really hear the commentary, you know, as far as what the announcers were saying. A lot of times that's a good thing. I like that, so I can form my own opinions about it. But I don't know if they gave any insight to the knee or not. You know, maybe on the rebroadcast this weekend, maybe I'll be able to hear. But, you know, he dropped him within the first minute of the fight. So you weren't really given a good chance to see, okay, well, was he moving good before this happened and this happened afterwards? But, you know, he had two knee braces on, so that's one negative sign that something was going on. But like I said, he caught him on a good counter, I believe a left hook, because he was landing a left hook all night. And after that, his movement was just, he was very limited in what he could do. And I don't know if that made him overcompensate with, his movement up top, trying to, get out of the way because he didn't have his legs, and maybe that threw him off or something. But he was just getting clean. I don't know if the hook just really juggled his brain around enough that he was just, that off key for the rest of the fight or what. But something definitely was going on. I like the route that Martinez is taking, the no excuse route. But I just looking at him in there, it just seemed like something might have been wrong with one of those knees, maybe both.
Yeah, he was definitely unsteady, and it was kind of crazy because it seemed like anytime Cotto landed with a hook, Martinez just got wobbled. Like, he just looked unsteady. He kind of looked like a baby giraffe. If you ever seen one of those walk around and they're just real unsteady. And that's how Martinez looked for most of that fight. You got to give him credit for surviving those, 3 knockdowns in the first round, and being able to come and fight back. But he really was never in the fight. I mean, he boxed okay, but pretty much Miguel Cotto, the guy who's a smaller guy, came and he just imposed his will on Sergio Martinez. We, looking back at that fight, Martinez usually he fights a lot with his hands down, puts him down, by his knees with his chin out. We saw that very few times in that fight. He did it a couple times. I think in the mid rounds he got a little more comfortable and did it. But he got hit one time and picked him back up real quick. And that lets you know how uncomfortable he was in the ring, because how long have we seen Sergio Martinez do that, emulate that Roy Jones style? Exactly, but he was basically too fearful to do it because Cotto was catching him clean with every single punch. Now, for Cotto, he moved over. He fought under Freddie Roach. Some people are crediting Freddie Roach with, his master game plan or his, training getting Cotto up to par. How much influence do you think that a guy like Roach has on a proven veteran who's been around for a while at this elite level like Miguel Cotto?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know how people start beating the drum after a good win. So it just looked like it was right timing on the part of the Cotto camp. Maybe they knew some stuff that we didn't know. Like I said, I totally take credit for misjudging this fight. I just didn't think that he had a chance to win. So it was obviously a good win. And like I said, I think he was the first Puerto Rican to hold a 160-pound title, or maybe it's just the first Puerto Rican in 4 different weight classes. Either way, it was a landmark win. But as far as him being rejuvenated and all that stuff under Freddie Roach, I don't know, because I think if either one of those factors ended up being the case, the fact that Martinez was just that dazed from the first round, or the fact that he did have a bad knee, I mean, then that was all pro Cotto. Then he had a couple things worked into his advantage. I mean, do I think he's going to do that against every 160, 154 pounder he faces? No, I really don't. I still would have to think that against a legitimate 160 pounder that's established in the building that is not faded and still has some upside, I still would probably pick against Cotto at this point. I think at 54, he's a little bit more even keel, but at 160, I just don't think it's a good weight class for him. Freddie Roach probably did do some fine tuning, but Cotto says that every time he switches trainers, which has been every other year. I mean, he went for Emmanuel Stewart. It was, he's teaching me stuff that I never knew. Then he went to the ex-Olympic coach for the Cuban team. He's got me doing this stuff that Emmanuel's never showed me. Then he loses. Then he drops him. So I mean, who knows? I mean, it was a good win. He always performed well, against a certain level of competition. So it's not like he's been a bum. He's lost a couple close fights, but I mean, he's always been solid. It's not like it's a total revamping, like he was just, putty before Freddie Roach got him. He's always had, a high skill level. So I don't know. I would hope that he goes back to 54 and maybe fights a fight with Canelo. Then we'll be able to see, what Canelo, what Freddie Roach's impact on, as far as, maybe stretching him out a couple more prime years if he does well against Canelo.
But do you think he would go back down to 54 for that, or you think he'll make come up to 60?
I would have to think he would go down to 54, because if you looked at the tail of the tape, Cotto actually weighed in at 55. I think Canelo might not have the negotiating power that Cotto does, but he's not a chump in the negotiating room either. So I don't know if Cotto can just automatically bully him up to 160 if Canelo's not comfortable with it. It's not like Cotto is an established middleweight who's been up there 2 years and his body is, blossoming into it, and he's just going to, really deplenish himself if he goes down. Like I said, he weighed in at 155, so I mean, he basically was right there at the 154-pound limit. And there were discussions about maybe about a year and a half ago about them getting that fight together anyway. I think Canelo was game for it, but I think the timing actually wasn't right on the Cotto side, because if you remember he ended up fighting Austin Trott instead, and that was a fight that Canelo was angling for. So yeah, I mean, I would think the fight would be doable. At 154, I don't really see the need for it at 160. But I mean, I don't know if that's an angle that Cotto's camp thinks they can exploit. Maybe they can, but it seems like it's perfect for the junior middleweight class.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking that he's got that title. That's something Canelo probably wants. Canelo would like to get the middleweight title, so I think it may be logical there. But then again, Canelo, whether it's 154 or 160, he's going to have a size advantage if they do fight. So it'll be interesting to see. I do disagree with you a little bit. You said that Canelo doesn't necessarily have, I guess, kind of the pull or the fan base that Cotto has. Which may be true in a little bit, but you got to remember Canelo, his fight with Mayweather, that's a number 2 fight all time in terms of pay-per-view buys. Now, of course, Mayweather's the A side on that, but the fact that their fight did 2.2 million, I don't know off the top of the head what Mayweather Cotto did.
I know it broke 1 million.
Yeah, but you're looking at 2.2 versus, whatever, 1.3, 1.5. So Canelo definitely has a lot of negotiating power. He has a strong following behind him. So, that may be a type of 50-50 fight, in terms of purse or, just negotiating power that they both bring to the table. Anything else on this fight is not a whole lot to talk about because it was such a dominant performance. I mean, it's been a while since we saw a fight like that where it was either a toss-up or you expected, Martinez. I think most people expected Martinez to win, but he just blitzkrieg, just ran through. But any other things you want to talk about on that fight before we move to some of the other stuff that we're going to talk about?
No, I agree with you. I think the fight just kind of spoke for itself. I mean, it ain't too many go-arounds we can have on it. I mean, anybody, it is not like it's a controversial decision where it could be a variety of different views, or it was a back-and-forth fight where, he broke down. Yeah, it spoke for itself, man. He made a statement.
So you don't think that stoppage was premature, man?
Late. Could have happened about 2 rounds before that. Yeah.
Be like that, like fight night when you knock somebody down and just hit the B button and repeat. All right, well let's talk about jump into a little bit of the politics side, man. Last week, Richard Schaefer, CEO of Golden Boy Promotions, announced that he was leaving, jumping ship. This isn't something that was really a surprise. A lot of boxing fans have heard rumors about this. There was apparently a rift between the two. De La Hoya, he's been saying he wants to work with Top Rank some more. He wanted to end some of this Cold War. Richard Schaefer seemed like he got some beef that's deeply ingrained, whether it's against HBO, Bob Arum, whoever else. So he left. What do you think about that split? How is it going to affect the boxing landscape? We know Golden Boy, right now is the premier promoter, but at the same time, Schaefer's, closely aligned with Mayweather, who said he's not doing business with Golden Boy, that Schaefer's gone. Schaefer's also in tight with Al Heyman, who manages or advises a whole lot of fighters. So what do you think is going to happen to Golden Boy with this split?
Yeah, I don't know, because I've been trying to read any article I can get my hands on to try to get an indication on how it might play out. But it's hard. Nobody is really saying anything right now. I think the attorneys are still getting involved in it, and it might, be one of those prolonged type things because, I've read different stuff about, well, Schaefer is still on a contract with them up until 2018, and he can, go to start his own entity and everything. It'd be, some type of competitive clause, or, it's all kind of stuff. Which, he hasn't really said anything. Golden Boy hasn't really said anything except they're going to move forward. I did find an interesting article on Fight Hype, a site I like to frequent. One of the things that they brought to light was that although a lot of guys have been fighting on Golden Boy cards, they weren't necessarily signed to Golden Boy. I thought that was real interesting. And some of the bigger names that might surprise you, guys like Adrian Broner, a lot of the guys that are associated with Al Heyman, that they actually are kind of just making appearances and getting appearance fees on these Golden Boy cards without actually being signed to the promotion. So they had a long list. I wish I would have printed it out. Some of the names might surprise you. So I don't actually know what Golden Boy has left in the shed to actually mix these cards up. I know they got Guerrero and Alexander that are legitimately signed. They got a fight coming up. We know Canelo's legitimate signed, but I think I saw Danny Garcia's name on there, and if I'm not mistaken, Lucas Matisse. I definitely saw Sean Porter on there. That he wasn't actually signed to Golden Boy. That he's being managed by Al Heyman. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. One thing I do hope happens, or maybe this will start to cool off the Cold War between Golden Boy and Top Rank. Even though I'm not really a fan of Top Rank and the way they do business, I think if some of the guys that Golden Boy does have on the contract, if they can mix and match them with Top Rank, I think the fans might benefit from there. But you'd also need HBO to come up off of their anti-Golden Boy stance, where they've said that no Golden Boy fighters are going to appear on the network. So I don't know. I think it's one of those hurry up and wait type things before we see how it actually plays out.
Yeah, and me personally, I think it's gonna kind of suck for boxing fans because it adds another fragment to the situation right now. Like you talked about, Golden Boy and Top Rank have had issues. It seems like on all fronts that will mend. De La Hoya's and Bob Arum have been pretty chummy lately in the press. So it seems like they'll get back together. But like you said, there's network stuff that they got to work through. But now you have this, Richard Schaefer, and there's, Floyd said, hey, you're welcome at Mayweather Promotions. So maybe whenever the contract situation's worked out, maybe he'll jump over there, become a full legitimate promotional corporation. Maybe he'll side with Heyman and they'll do something, or whatever. But irregardless, well, now you have this guy who has pull, whether or not he takes the current Golden Boy kind of free agent fighters that you talked about with him or not. He has pull, so wherever he lands, he's going to be able to sign fighters. And so he's probably not going to do business with Golden Boy. Mayweather's already said, Schaefer's gone. That's my dude. I'm not doing business with Golden Boy anymore. And like you said, I didn't see that Fight Hype article, but I have seen some things that were related to it. But you have so many other fighters who are kind of on the one and done, you're the co-promoter or whatever you have it. I wonder if Schaefer did that by design. Like I start to think, hey, did he see his exit strategy?
It is. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, it seems like him and Al Heyman had some backdoor going on, man. It seemed like they were ready, man. It's. I mean, it looks like maybe while De La Hoya was enjoying his party life in his fishnet stockings and snorting lines of coke and chasing
low blow.
It seemed like they were focused on the task at hand and handling business in the boardroom. Yeah, it looks like they might have got one over on them. But we don't know. Like I said, no, there's nothing been definitive that's been said. But it's I don't know. It looks like a smooth exit for Richard, man, in a nice situation for Al Heyman.
Oh,
this guy keeps winning, man. I mean, he's a juggernaut, man. I mean, he's equivalent to like some type of lawyer paperwork gangster, man. I mean, he's just on another level than these guys, man. He's playing chess and they're playing checkers, man.
Yeah, he's like Kaiser Soze, man. Only he just recently has started to come out and people see who he is. But yeah, and he said a while ago, he said when he first got
that's the opposite. If you look at actually older fights, you actually see Al Heyman sitting up in the front row sometimes. Nobody knew who he was at the time, until like every now and then you'll see an internet picture of him. He's usually older, but it seems like once his name started coming up again, he removed himself from the scene. Now he's hard to get a picture of, man. I mean, the dude is cold, man.
Yeah, Heyman, and he said a while ago, he came from, I think, music production, but he said when he first got into boxing, he probably saw how disorganized it was, how shady it was. He said, man, he's like, I can run boxing if I want to, and it looks like he's finally decided that's what he wants to do. And so the past,
his own network basically with Showtime.
Right, exactly. So
he can mix and match his own fighters against his other fighters, and doesn't have to really take a risk of losing because if I own both of the rights to both of the guys, I can't lose. Whoever wins, I'll move forward with. Yeah, so he's in a win-win. Gets all the dates he wants from Showtime. The guy's got it going on.
Now, look at this though. This was what I was thinking about earlier. Heyman's situation is set up so nicely. He's technically not a promoter. He's an advisor. He's a manager. So when you look at other promoters, even though a lot of people say he acts as a promoter, basically. But when you look at Bob Arum with Top Rank, at the end of the day, he's doing all this work, putting on the shows, and he has to pay the fighter at the end. As a manager advisor, the fighter is paying Al Heyman. So he has all this pull. He's got all these fighters, this network, and they're paying him.
Yeah, man. You don't come on top of your class out of a Harvard law school for nothing, man. Yeah, the brother knows what he's doing, man.
Exactly. Yeah, a Harvard law guy against a bunch of people who at some point, probably got hit in the head for a living. So I guess it makes sense.
Right.
All right. So, anything else about that situation? It's interesting. Like I said, I'm hoping, that something comes out of this where we're able to start getting these cross-promotional fights more often. But my fear, man, just knowing boxing and being kind of a pessimist instead of an optimist is that, it's just going to be another part that's fragmented, that's warm with each other. So hopefully we won't see that. Heyman, Schaefer, they are proven guys. Like, they know how to put on big shows. They know how to sign fighters. So they have skills, but I'm just hoping that it doesn't end up them against, not doing business with Golden Boy, who's not doing business with Top Rank, who's not doing business with Main Events or whatever.
HBO, who's not showing their fights, So, it's messy.
Exactly. So, all right, you said you wanted to talk a little bit about the fights this weekend. You got Ruslan Provodnikov going up against Chris Algieri. How do you see that fight? Do you think Algieri is any type of threat to Provodnikov at all?
I wouldn't think so. I only saw him once on fighting. I saw him in the Emmanuel Taylor fight. I think it was back in February on ESPN. But no, I guess HBO is really going to get behind Provodnikov because they're kind of giving him as close as it gets to a gimme on HBO. So I would be very surprised if he had too much trouble with him. But anything can happen. So I just see Ruslan pressuring him and breaking him down and probably getting a late stoppage. That's based off from what I saw from the fight on ESPN. I just didn't take too much from the guy. I'm actually surprised he got approved. So as I'm saying, I guess it's a guy that he's been in tough, lately with Tim Bradley and Alvarado. So I guess they're going to give him a little something to keep him busy until something big opens up this fall.
Yeah, without Golden Boy fighters, it's not like they got a huge stable, so they're gonna have to provoke Provodnikov. I like him. I don't think Algieri. I don't even think it's gonna be late rounds. I think it may be, mid rounds. Maybe fifth or sixth round. I think he'll get him out of there. What I've seen from Algieri, which was only maybe 2 fights, he wasn't impressive at all. He's a guy. He has decent skills, but his style. I think he's going to eat a lot of punches from Provodnikov. He may try to stand and trade with him a little bit, and that's going to be all bad for him because he doesn't seem like he has all that much power at all. So, I'm not looking forward to it in a sense of it being a competitive fight, but Provodnikov is kind of an action fighter, so I'll definitely check him out. Also, before we go, I know, and this has been a while back, but you said you had some words to say about Juan Manuel Marquez. He fought, a couple weeks back. Looked great, looked excellent at 40 years old, but you had a little bit of skepticism about that. But you still want to
Oh
say
no,
your
I,
piece
I
on.
thought we already addressed it. I mean, I just gave my 2 cents. I'm not a scientist or anything, but he looked like he was, had benefited from some steroid use or some type of performance enhancing. Just you hear about stuff in the sports, and I know going back 30 years ago, one of the first signs that they would say, one of the things that they would first say was an indication of steroid use would be, the pimply back and the pimply chest. And I got off of work and I just hit a few of my regular sites, and they had pictures of the weigh-in, and the first thing I saw was, just as his face, I mean, as his chest real broke out and all on his back, and it's I don't know. It's just it doesn't seem like a coincidence to me that ever since he went up to 140/147, that I mean he's got this sudden knockdown / knockout power, man. I mean he's bulked up. I mean we saw what he looked like when he went up there against Mayweather back in '09. Granted that was some time ago, but I mean it's just not something that you normally see, especially in combat sports. Guys getting better as they get older and becoming more devastating punchers as they age. I mean, I'm not. It doesn't. I mean, I could be wrong. I seriously doubt it. I mean, there's been other rumblings. I'm not the only one saying it, but I mean, it just seems so obvious, man. And, it's just hard for me to give a lot of credit to the guy, man. It's just not a good look. Yeah, issue there.
Yeah,
Okay. I don't know if
yeah.
any of
So
them.
look.
Yeah, I don't know if any of that went through, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we lost the connection for a little bit. I thought, the Marquez people, maybe they had tapped into the line. As soon as you start talking about it, all of a sudden we get disconnected. So not sure what the deal with that, but we're going to leave that alone, I guess, for the legal and the hacker purposes. But anything else that's on your mind that you want to talk about? Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks, but missed a lot of good fights. We're not going to talk about them all, but anything else that's piquing your mind right now?
Oh no. We're just in the middle of a good stretch now as far as fans. One fight I am looking forward to is the Terrence Crawford versus the Gamboa. I'm sure we'll address that in the upcoming weeks. But you got the Ruslan fight this weekend, and you got the Crawford Gamboa fight the week after that, and then no, I'm sorry, you have the triple header on Showtime with our local favorite Devin Alexander the week after that, and then you have the Terrence Crawford fight after that. So got a pretty good stretch. Looking forward to that. Give us a little something to talk about. Finally starting to pick up. The majority of the year has been kind of slow, so it's nice to see the fans the fights starting to fall in line, and give us back to back stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward as well. Here this week, and I wrote an article. Half of it's NBA, Derek Fisher. Another half is talking about the Golden Boy situation. So everybody be sure to go to stlamerican.com and check that out. Mike, if people want to get a hold of you, want to get in contact with you, how do they do it?
Yeah, just get a hold of Ish and let me know what's going on, and I touch bases with him via text messaging. That's about all I need. So yeah, keep reading the St. Louis American, the best paper in town. You got Ishmael Sistrunk, the best sports writer in town. So you all be sure to support that. If you got anything to ask me, shoot it towards him.
Well, proud to be the go-between, man. Appreciate you for being able to be on the show again. We should be back at it next Monday. Be back to our regular schedule now that the holidays and things like that are over. But thanks for tuning in. Like Mike said, check out stlamerican.com for the latest in sports and news, or subscribe here on Google Plus or to our YouTube page. And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.